Yeah, just, Chris and I were talking about, having someone on that can talk about starting a podcast, and, especially a real estate one. And we were saying, us personally, when we think of a successful real estate podcast, you're the first person that comes to mind that just has a bang up podcast that just kills it. And so, yeah, we just wanted to kind of see how, you've taken it from point A to point B, and how you got started and kind of how you've gotten to where you're at right now.
Oh, I appreciate that. And thank you guys for having me on. You guys have both been guests on Real Estate Disruptors. So I would say probably the biggest thing is it's so, played out. Everyone says it, but there's two pieces, right? It's massive action and consistency.
Yeah.
And so like when I decided to start a podcast, it was back in 2018. It was, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. And literally a week and a half later, I recorded my first episode live with Templeton. Right? Like it wasn't that long. And so
yeah.
I think the first thing is massive action. And when I announced the podcast, I announced it 4 days after deciding I was going to start a podcast. I didn't have a title. I didn't have an idea of what the logo was going to look like. I didn't even know who my first guest was going to be. I just said, guys, I'm doing a podcast. Tune in next week, Wednesday, 2:00.
Hell yeah.
And then by Monday, I had a logo, I had a name, and a guest. I think on Tuesday, Templeton and I talked about on Tuesday that he's going to be the guest on Wednesday. So that first part is massive action. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? And the great thing about starting a podcast, everyone that's listening, is you can start it and there's no risk. And what I mean by that is if it sucks, no one knows. If you start a podcast and it fails, no one knows, because by definition of failing, no one heard about it.
Yep.
So for me, I was like, I'll just record 10 episodes. And if it sucks, well, there's one more thing I failed at. And there's no big deal because no one will know. Like, this is the failure. Like, no one will talk about. Like, if you start like a car dealership or like some other business venture, right? Like, you took a giant lease on this commercial space and it fails. Like, everyone's going to know about it. But if you have a podcast and it fails, like, no one even notices. Like, it's not even worthy to talk about.
Yeah, you got so low barrier of entry, basically.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. The second thing is consistency. So I intentionally set mine to be live on Facebook every Wednesday at 2:00 because I knew if I did that, then I have no excuse but to do it every Wednesday at 2:00. Right. But if I had a situation where I was going to go record it, edit it, and upload it as time went by, I just knew myself that I would fall behind, I would procrastinate, and it wouldn't get done. So I set myself a schedule to go live every Wednesday at 2 p.m. to hold myself accountable, because otherwise it would just be sitting there waiting to edit out all the ums and ahs and then never
yeah, no, for sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So I would say it's the massive action and the consistency. I would say were the two things that helped me a lot.
How many podcasts have you done now?
Somewhere around 200. I don't know exactly, but somewhere in that neighborhood, right? I mean, you think about 50 episodes a year for 4 years now. So about 200 episodes.
Do you take Christmas week off? I mean, just like the holidays.
The times I've taken off are 4th of July week, Thanksgiving week, and Christmas week. Those are the only 3 I take off. But what I've done in the past is record beforehand and upload it around those times. So, like, for example, remember Kyle Weiler's was our Christmas Day episode, but he definitely wasn't in the studio on Christmas Day. Right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Have you seen any growth from, like, obviously you talked to all the Phoenix guys, Luke, myself, Carlos, Jamil, Pace, all the Phoenix guys. But now being on NCG, you've seen you're more national guys, right? So have you seen any exponential growth because of that, or?
Well, not because of the podcasts or because of CG, but I would say that starting the podcast gave me national reach. It was just, I was able to reach a lot more people and gain credibility way earlier. And it was something, Sean Terry was on the show and he kind of mentioned the same thing. Like, hey, when I started podcasting and talking about what was helpful for my career went through the roof. And he asked me, like, did yours go through the same thing? It's like, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Doing a podcast and talking to people, it went all the way through the roof. And what's interesting is I'm the same exact human being as before I started the podcast, but I get undue credibility and recognition because of the podcast, even though I'm still the same person. For sure.
Would you? So have you marketed? You haven't marketed Real Estate Disruptors at all? I mean, in the sense of, you haven't really had to push it out there. It's all just kind of been word of mouth.
So it was all just leveraging technology. So going
Yeah.
live on Facebook and tagging people and having them share it is really the biggest growth, you know. And it was really helpful that I brought in people that already had reach. You know, Templeton was the first guest, Carlos and Sauer the second guest. I had Alex Saenz, Jalen White. You know, these are people that already had reach, so it helped grow it a lot faster. What was the other question? Was it the plateau or the reach?
Yeah.
The one thing I would say for everyone that's listening is thinking about starting a podcast. I mean, I say this with all seriousness. I mean, it sounds funny, but with all seriousness, like, you grow influence and reach, and you can do more things, opens more doors that I never thought I could open if I didn't have the podcast.
For sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's like in the 80s and 90s, if you're a published author.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
right. Yeah, exactly.
In the 2010s, 2020s, it's, you know, do you have a podcast, or how big is your following on social
media?
Yep.
No, there's no doubt about it.
So clearly, so you do sales coaching, right? That's kind of one of the big, I mean, besides doing your real estate business, I mean, you do sales coaching. I mean, do you think that that's like, okay, someone that maybe he's not heard of you, maybe he's not heard of CG, maybe it doesn't live in Arizona. Do you think that is like, hey, oh, look at all these podcasts. Yeah, I'm gonna go through his coaching for sure. I mean, do you think that's kind of a sales?
It absolutely has been helpful. So what people don't know about, like, I talk about things I've tried and failed and no one knew about.
Yeah.
So 2015, 2016, I actually tried to be a coach. Right? I tried to teach because, like, I was doing really well with PPC. Like, I've joked about this before. Like, it was in Phoenix, it was basically me and Sean Terry, right? In PPC, I was paying $2 a click and $12 a lead, right? Like, I would literally murder someone today for that, right?
Yeah.
Yep. This isn't published, right? Okay, so so this is what my competition was back in 2011, 2012, 2013. So I was like, man, like, I'm doing really well with PPC. You know, I didn't know this at the time that Sean Terry was just giving it away for free, but I was trying to sell it as a, you know, hey, here's a way to grow your business. You can get more listings, you can buy more houses, right? Like, this is a way to generate a whole bunch of leads cheap. And as I'm trying to sell this, everyone's like, who are you? Why should I listen to you? It's like, I'm the guy that's doing really well with PPC. That's who I am, right? It's kind of like the Glenn Gary Glenn Ross. It's like, my watch is worth more than your car. That's who I am, right? That was totally relevant. They're like, I don't know who you are. I don't know if I can trust you. I was like, okay. So I had this giant barrier to sell coaching back then. And the coaching is really going to be like, let me show you how to do PPC, right? I was like, $5,000. I'll teach you how to do PPC.
Right.
Couldn't sell any. Now I got a podcast. Everyone feels like they know me and they trust me. And when I say I have this, they listen. So yes, exactly. It's been absolutely instrumental in growing influence.
That's awesome. Do you have a few favorite podcasts that you've done over the years?
I always go back to, as far as favorite, I always go back to Chaim, and it's not for the reason most people think. You know, he's the one guy that I can say is still doing it for all the right reasons. Not to say that anyone's doing it for the wrong reasons, but when we first get into real estate, you know, we read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's like, man, like, I can have a lifestyle where I can say, like, if I hit this much in monthly revenue that covers all my expenses, I've hit my freedom number. And once I hit my freedom number, I can do whatever I want, right? Like, we all say that, right? We're thinking about this, and we're quitting our W-2 job. But then once we're in the game, we're like, wow, how much more can I do? How many more can I sell? How much more revenue can I? How much marketing can I spend? How much is Iman doing? How much is Luke doing? I got to crush them. I got to have more marketing. I got to have more sales. I got to have more sales guys. I have to have more followers. Like, there's this giant race. And Chaim's the only one who is still, like, dropping his kids off to school, picking them up, wearing flip-flops and shorts, right? Going to every parent-teacher conference meeting. You know, like, he talks about how, like, everyone in his school, at his kid's school, thinks he's a drug dealer, right? Because he shows up in a nice car, and he's at every event, right? He's like the dad that goes to every field trip. And so I think he's the one that's a great reminder, like, why did we start what we started?
Right.
And he's still doing it, whereas the rest of us is like, we're on this giant pissing contest.
No, I get that. No, there's no doubt about it. Well, like you said, it's you do, like, you know, when you put into terms like that, you set that goal. Maybe that goal is whatever that number is. Oh, if I could ever get to $20,000 a month passively, right? I'll never work. I'll never have to worry about anything. And then you hit that number and you're like, okay, well, well, I could probably get to 50.
Right.
I could probably get to this, and it's like it is. It's definitely
We're constantly moving the goalposts.
Yes.
And
There's no.
I love Steve's comment, but I want to make one comment to that. Just being, I think I'm older than Steve by like 10
2 or 3
years.
years.
I think you're like 42, right? 41? Yeah.
42.
So I'm like 10 years older than Steve. I can tell you as an investor, when you can let your male ego go and focus on your own business and get out of the pissing contest, that itself is just gets you out of all the brain damage. And some of you younger bucks like Luke out there, I don't think Luke has that personality, but some guys do. If you can just be like, concentrate on your own business, make sure your four walls work. Don't worry about anybody else. Anyway,
no, for sure. And I mean, but Chris, I think of you as one of those people as well, though, where you've built that lifestyle that you do what you want to do now, which is pretty amazing. I mean, God, like you said, you're in the Bahamas right now, right?
I'm in the Bahamas. I'm actually with my fiance tomorrow. We're going through all the checklists of our wedding in July.
That's the goal. Like that's like, when I think, in the future, that's what's goals, like is being able to do, Steve, like what you said about Haim as well, is like, is about being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. But then, I think there comes a whole nother aspect of not worrying about what other people are thinking, not worrying about what other people are doing, of just doing it because that's what you want to do.
Exactly. And then I'm going the opposite direction, right? So like right behind me, right? That's an NFT, right? Like I am trying to get in this race on blockchain. So like I'm the exact opposite. I think that's the reason why it's my favorite episode, is because it's a reminder for me, because I'm the exact opposite. Because I was that guy. I was like, hey, I'm gonna get in, I'm gonna hit my freedom number, I'm gonna take it easy. No, man, I cannot take it easy. It's not within me.
Yeah. No, I think I'm kind of a mixture of the two of you, because I love boats, and I want to be Chris in the Bahamas, just taking it easy with my family and hanging out. But then I'm the same as you, Steve, too, where it's like, you said again, I set a certain goal, and that goal was hit, and then it's okay. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? So, and it's not even so much. It's not even so much shiny object syndrome. It's more so like, how far can I push myself? Like, like this 32 unit that we're doing. That's putting me so far out of the zone that I ever thought that I'd be in. But like, it's like this weird feeling of just like, I love it though. It's like a high. It's like a weird personal high that you get where you're just like, it's hard to explain, but it's pushing yourself to that next.
It's finding your Mount Everest, climbing it, and then once you've climbed it, what's my next Mount Everest?
Yes.
So let's talk about that Mount Everest. You've climbed the real estate Mount Everest. Are you starting a podcast for blockchain and NFTs and all that?
So blockchainwhales.com. We launched it 2 weeks ago. It's not on iTunes or Spotify yet because we were waiting to get 5 episodes, but we recorded 2 on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Because I genuinely believe that this is the new phase, and whoever can stake their flag in the ground early is going to be in a really good spot when it gets normalized.
Absolutely.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear it. Just so everybody can.
Blockchainwhales.com.
Okay, blockchainwhales.com. I'm going to throw it in the comments real quick.
Heck yeah. And then are you starting a separate podcast with that, or are you just going to continue going off of Real Estate Disruptors?
I'm starting a second podcast. So 100% cool. I'm starting a second podcast because it's outside of real estate. So even though I'm going to eventually marry the two, right? Eventually I want to be like the real estate guy that also does blockchain, and blockchain guy that has real estate experience. I'm going to be that guy down the road. I don't think people are ready for that today. So I'm just going to do real estate and blockchain separately. And at some point, it's going to be married.
Heck yeah. I like that.
So with the new law, any changes? Are you have you done a podcast on that yet? The HP.
We filmed something on YouTube, but it's such a non-issue in Arizona. Like it's already in writing. Yeah. Like it already says we already have a paragraph that says that we may assign the rights to this contract, right? So it was already in writing. So I think it's fascinating because I listened to the hearing, the Senate hearing. So the people that brought it up, I listened to it like, man, these guys did such a horrible job of articulating the issue at hand. Like I could have argued against it way better than these guys could have.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I'm happy, and I hope this is the model for the rest of the country because this is just disclose, right? Disclose.
Yeah.
We already do that, so I think we're good.
That's what. So Chris and I had an episode with Brian North. We were talking about it 2 weeks ago, I think, and I was just saying I think it just comes down to training. You know, I mean, your team. I mean, it's all just how they get that point across of what you're potentially going to do with the property once you buy it.
Right.
You know, so I mean, I'm with you. I don't know if it's really going to change that much. Most people that have the right contract have it in their contract, and if you don't, that's your own fault.
Yeah. Why would you not have that in your contract? It's business suicide to not have that in your contract.
Yep, exactly. So I mean, I'm with you. I don't know if it's going to change too much, but
yeah.
Well, I mean, let's just look at one possible thing it could change, and that's dispo. Like, I mean, we all know that there's some people. I'm not going to name any names, but some people just like send stuff. You know, that could change a little bit of their business, a little bit.
Well, I'm not sure because they're saying like they're dispoing, right? But once you get to the signed contract part, the contract should say, right, that we're assigning the rights, which is by definition notifying in writing, right? So the only way that it could be an issue in my head, right, is if you have a separate purchase agreement that does not disclose that you're selling the rights of the contract. But if you're in this game and you're buying from a wholesaler, you should know you're buying the rights of the contract.
You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, no, I just think the new people that might not be able to that might not know about this, they're new to the business. They took a national class, they go try to do this, and then they, you know, I mean, I had my TC. I literally had my TC. Anybody that tries to sell through us or whatever, like his first response is, "Where is your disclosure in the contract?" Because I don't want to read your whole contract, but tell me where your disclosure.
Yeah.
Because I want to read it before I'll even. Because I mean, obviously, as a dispo company, like
that's smart. That's really smart.
They're like,
because you could totally screw yourself if you're dispoing a contract that doesn't have that clause in it.
That's
absolutely right, Chris.
You're like, hey, I got to close tomorrow. Can you just try to sell this for me? You know, I mean, I've gotten that call before. It's not every day, but I've gotten a call. So
I'm sure you get that call more.
Yeah, I'm sure you get that call more than once a month.
Yeah, so like I literally told my TC guy, like, send over the contract, and his first response should be, I don't want to read your whole contract. Tell me what line says that I can hold together. So,
yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I think that's something that's even been around for a while, right? Like, even though it wasn't in HB 2747 or whatever that number is, I think the Department of Real Estate has always cared that you have marketable rights.
Right,
so,
for sure.
Right.
This is just the difference here. Now they made this into the Arizona revised statutes.
Yeah, good old Linda Bevins. She sent me at least 6 or 7 emails.
You got more contacts and conversations about it than I did. I found out about it from a text message, like, "Hey, what is this?" Like, oh.
But so Steve, so what advice? What would you say are some of the top things advice that you would give to people that are starting a podcast that are really trying to get it going and kind of get some traction running?
I always say the big thing is be prepared to do it consistently. You know, like, it may be unpleasant. Creating content is not fun, right? But if you're gonna do it, you have to be consistent. I've seen so many people start podcasts, right? It's not like, hey, have you heard of this podcasting thing? Like, everyone knows about it, right? It's really just the fact that, are you gonna be consistent with it? And so I think that's the big thing. If you're gonna do it, time block, set aside, this is non-negotiable. I'm gonna do this, right? Like the way I've compared like creating content, which I generally actually don't like creating content. The way I've compared creating content,
I've seen your content crew. You got quite a few guys in there creating it for you.
I've got good dudes, but I hate being in front of a camera. But I treat it just like cold calling, right? Like, back in the day, I didn't play Madden, right? But back in the day, the cold calling sucked. I hated it, right? It's boring. You're getting rejected. You're getting hung up on, right? All day. But you had to do it because that's what it took to be successful in this business. Now, at the level I'm at, I hate creating content, but I know this is what it takes to go to the next level. So if you're going to do this, then you've got to be prepared to do it consistently. Don't just say, hey, I'm going to do this, and like give it 3 or 5 episodes. Like, you have to make a commitment. It's like direct mail, right? Don't just throw a piece of mailer out there. You're going to do it. Plan to do it for the next 6 to 12 months.
No, for sure.
You're episode 12. And I can tell you from so episode 12, that's 3 months. The Phoenix REI was on its way down, right? And this is where we broadcast it for me anyway. Phoenix REI, it's just kind of my little way to get back. We only had 2,800 members. Now we're touching almost 3,200 members, and I think we're at 2,800 members for probably like a year.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Phoenix REI has gone from a year probably at 2,800 and has gone from 2,800 almost to 3,200 in 3 months. So that's a win for
Heck yeah.
Absolutely is a win, and that's the power. That's the power of creating content. And I went through Tim Bross's commercial empire course, and he was harping on, right? He was basically saying, like, it's the one to many. Like, I literally cannot afford to sit down with Luke for coffee. Love Luke, great dude. I'm actually wearing Jordans right now, right?
Good.
Love Luke. Can't afford to have coffee with him, because that's a really expensive coffee. That's not a coffee that's going to cost me $3 or $5 for a Frappuccino. This is a $3,000 coffee.
Yeah.
So creating content, though, is an active, is an income generating activity.
For sure. No, there's no doubt about it. I think that's, what you said about time blocking. It's funny because that's exactly when people ask for advice on cold calling, I give the exact same advice. You have to time block. What I used to do is I used to pick from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. I'd take a break, take a lunch break, and I'd hop back on from, 3 to 5 or whatever it was. And so time blocking and consistency. Exactly. It's like, it's not going to be fun. Like you said, you're not going to enjoy it. Most things that are worthwhile, typically, you might not enjoy it up front. So,
most things that you have to do suck. I mean, that's just reality, right? But like, what happens with cold calling or lead follow up? It's like, oh, I'll get to it later. I'll get to it later, and never gets to. You never get to it because it's time blocking.
Yep,
Same thing with creating content. If you say I'll get to it when I have some free time, guess what? You're not gonna
do it. You're not gonna do it. No, for sure.
Well, that's awesome. So, Steve, we are sitting at 22 minutes. What would you say is what's the best time frame? I think you do an hour, right? Don't you? Or
man, we're creeping up at an hour and a half these days. So most
of
our episodes are going hour 30, hour 40. Not by design. It's just for my content, the podcast I'm creating, I'm trying to weave like two different threads. It's that I want to go through the hero's journey. I want to talk about their struggle, how they started, because people are listening are in their own struggle. So I'm trying to capture their struggle and their beginnings and so on. So I'm trying to capture that. And then, so that's the first half. And then the second half is like, let's get tactical. Let's talk about, what's working for you, what's different about your business, why is it working for you, and so on. So I'm trying to get two stories or two different messages within one podcast. And I used to be able to do it in like an hour 10, but now these days it's like an hour and a half, hour 40. Maybe I'm getting too loquacious. Maybe I'm talking too much. I don't know, but it's taking longer.
Well, no, I think that's what people want, though. I think that people want the details. They want the they want the struggle. They want the juice with it. They want to know exactly what makes people tick too. So,
and like I was looking at it, I think our stat is like the average listener listens to 78, 80% of the podcast. Like, holy cow! Like they are pot committed. I mean, they're into this for an hour.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Steve, are all of your episodes, are they all going to bigger pockets?
No, all our episodes go into Spotify and iTunes and Google Podcasts. So we put it in a Blueberry. There's a conversation within the team. I'm not in love with it. They're talking about maybe moving over to Anchor. Not excited about the idea, the premise of it, because Anchor owns your IP. But because it's owned by Spotify, we can actually upload our video into Spotify. So like right now, if I want to upload my videos into Spotify, I can't. They don't allow it because they only select people like, this guy named Joe Rogan has it,
Never heard of him.
Yeah, I know, some non-whatever. Anyway, but if you have Anchor, then they will allow it. So I think that's their way, maybe forcing people into Anchor. So there's talks about maybe going through Anchor so we can put our videos into Spotify. We'll see.
All right. Nice. So for the rookie, like, I just do this for the REI. What's the level of doing a podcast for, call it, I think we share it to Jake's YouTube. I don't even share it to my YouTube. I just share it to the REI. So a YouTube channel to iTunes to Spotify, what does that look like?
So to YouTube, it's Wirecast, which is that's as far as I know. I can't get you much more than that, or StreamYard, right? So StreamYard. From StreamYard, you can download directly from StreamYard, right? So you can download directly from StreamYard, and then what was it to you said iTunes?
iTunes or Spotify. I'm like,
Yeah.
I
So
just listen to music in those.
Yeah.
so basically, you just take the video from StreamYard. You can download it. You can download the video and the audio, and taking the audio, and you can use again Anchor is the cheapest or easiest. I use Blueberry. A lot of people use Libsyn, but you go to those and you just upload it there, and it's like less than 20 minutes to get it set up. Now, the very first time it might take you an hour, hour and a half, but after that, it's pretty easy. It's like RVA does all of that now.
Okay.
Right.
So if you're creating a podcast, would you suggest YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, or would you start on YouTube for a little bit and then
yeah. So I got way more reach because I was doing it on Facebook Live and YouTube, right? So going live on Facebook and uploading to YouTube, I got way more reach that way. These days we're going live on YouTube, but I know that for sure what helped us grow a lot was going live on Facebook. Now,
for sure,
Facebook's algorithm has changed, so I don't know how helpful that is today. And right now at this moment, we go live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram and TikTok.
So you guys do go live on Instagram as well?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So you use a different because StreamYard can't go live on Instagram. So
no, we don't use StreamYard. We use Wirecast.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes a StreamYard's great, right? I think it's great for it's like using an iPhone, right? Like you can't screw it up.
Yeah.
Right. But with the guys I have, Luke's got to meet the crew. These guys are looking for the latest and greatest. Like they're looking for every conceivable minute edge they can take advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys, they've got the latest and greatest, and they won't settle for less.
Heck yeah.
They'll be upset with me if I try to let's just take it easy this time.
Chris, you walk into Steve's content room and it looks like a sales floor.
But I walk into CG and I got to make sure I stay away from his camera. Like
yeah, those guys.
And it's not just awesome. Steve now. There's a couple, not just Steve, but Steve's got. I think you got the most guys there, but I think even maybe Frank's got a guy there. It's like, oh man,
Frank's got a guy. I just found out this morning that my video guy, my top guy, is consistently getting recruited by people in Hollywood. It's like, what the heck? Like,
oh wow,
that's not cool. Like, I can't afford to lose him.
You're gonna have to pay him more, Steve. You're gonna have to compete with Brad Pitt.
Well, fortunately, we're not competing against Brad Pitt, but we are competing against studios. So
that's crazy. Heck yeah. Steve, you'll like to hear this. I was with my brother-in-law in California a couple weeks ago, and he's like, hey man, I had something I wanted to talk to you about. He's not in real estate. He's not like, not in like social media, anything like that at all. And he was like, yeah, I have had two friends in the past like couple months. They're like, yeah, your brother-in-law's last name is Rotfold, right? And he's like, yeah, why? And he's like, I was listening to either Bigger Pockets or this, or even just the Real Estate Disruptors. Like, is your brother-in-law's name is Luke, right? It's like, yeah. He's like, man, he was on Steve Trang's podcast. That's pretty awesome. So I thought that was pretty cool, though. So I mean, obviously, like I said, you've built an amazing podcast. You have, you have a great following. I love watching your podcast as well. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Just wanted to say, we appreciate you hopping on here and we respect you. And yeah, man, thanks for giving all this advice.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I love to help wherever I can.
Heck yeah. Great, yeah. Oh, you know what you always get me on too, Steve? You always get me on the when it pops up when you go live and it says is talking about you.
Tagged you in a post.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, that's genius, man. I'm telling you, that's
well,
genius.
That's not me. That's not me. That is a marketing gimmick that someone else figured out that we just mimic because people were doing that to me before, right? I was like,
yeah,
I don't see them tagging me. Like you're going through, you're clicking on it, and like I'm not in the comments.
You got me. I fell for it the first time. I was like, what's he saying? And I click on it. I'm like, I don't see anything. I don't know what's going on here. I'm so confused. And then the second time it popped, I'm like, nope. I'm not falling for it this time.
Yeah,
I get tagged too. So I jump on there and see what content they're listening to, and I watch it for a little bit.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but you can see, right? Like our lives are different than everyone else's lives.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
these guys are crazy. They're awesome.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Okay, here's another question. For people that are interested, where do you find people like that?
So what's interesting is I've got this amazing army who are all friends with one guy.
Okay.
Right. And he ran a studio back in the day, right? And this guy came to an event that I hosted with Ryan Pineda, Kong Lee, and Sam Prim. And he just went to our event just to hang out to see what these guys are doing. Like, who are these crazy? What are these crazy social media guys doing?
Yep.
And while we were running that event, he came up and was like, "Hey, I think you guys are talking about TikTok and Instagram, and that's cool, but you guys are missing the ball on or dropping the ball on YouTube Shorts." I was like, "Who is this guy?" Right. So he tagged me on Instagram, so I reached out to him, and as I got to know him, I was really impressed with him. So I just spent the next 2 months recruiting him. Right.
Right.
And once I recruited him, like, hey, like, he's like, well, if you want the good stuff, right? Like, I'm just a vision guy, but I got a great video guy.
I got this guy, yeah.
And the video guy's like, well, I can make great videos, but if you want a good thumbnail guy, my brother's a thumbnail guy. I was like, well, bring him on too. So we had 3 guys. We hired 3 guys in a matter of like a month and a half. And then as we've grown, they're like, hey, we need another person. He's like, I got a guy. We need this. I got a guy. He's so good. He's so well connected. I wanted a Mikal Bridges jersey, right? The Valley, the black, the Valley jerseys, and you can't find them anywhere. And so I was like, hey, Xander, like, I can't find this jersey anywhere. Like, you know anybody? He's like, let me make a call. An hour later in my office, I had a Mikal Bridges 25, right? The Valley jersey, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's pretty well connected. So I guess, like everything else, just if you know the right people, everything else falls into place.
Right. That's awesome. Speaking of, they play tonight, right?
Yeah.
Play tonight in 2 hours.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
I like it.
Well, Steve, thanks for jumping on. We try to keep it short. Like
we should do a half hour.
Yeah, try to
it's all good. It's all good.
Try to keep everybody. But we're gonna put this out. You're welcome to put this out, but we're gonna put it out. We put it out next Tuesday at 2:00. It's our 12th episode with Steve Trang. And thanks for jumping on with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And Luke, once it's on YouTube, tag me, let me know so I can share it.
For sure, I definitely will.
All right,
cool. Thank you, Chris.
Awesome.
Thank you, Luke.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining, Steve. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. I'll see you guys later.
All right, we'll see you guys.